When God said in the Quran that there was a time that you were not even a thought. Imagine.
Yeah, okay.
It's so true.
Do you think
then you come, then you become a human, then you rape, then you cheat. What gives you the right as a human being?
He'll be here in a minute. Go on.
As a human being to another human being, I should cheat somebody because I can do it and I can get away with it?
No one's watching, but we know God is watching.
Content over everything!
Thank you.
But so what? Okay, God is watching, but so what? So what?
You will know at the end, don't worry.
No. Oh, but I'm not know now. I want to know now.
Yeah, go on. Who wants to know now?
I want to know now.
Yeah.
What is the issue?
Huh?
What is the issue?
The issue is God is pure, He wants purity.
So what does
God
that
is
mean?
just, He wants justice.
What does that mean
God
for
is,
me? What does that mean for me, my individual life?
If individual life, if you are a human being, your natural instinct tells you you are limited.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Not everybody thinks like that.
Stop.
You think like that, and you think everyone else thinks.
No, but
like
I
that.
speak the truth. I think.
How?
Okay, stop. Okay,
This is
stop.
really interesting.
Stop getting sick if you can do it yourself. Stop
Listen,
dying. Stop getting old.
Listen.
Does this come from original sin?
No, I'm saying limitation in humanity.
No, Muslims don't believe in original sin.
I'm saying limitation in humanity.
The Muslims believe it was a mistake. It wasn't a sin. It was a mistake.
Right, you believe us taking Adam and Eve plucking the apple?
Yeah, it was a
That's
mistake.
original sin.
They don't know.
No.
It's a mistake. It's not as
But
heavy
he
as
said,
a sin.
but he said, forgive me.
Yeah. Christians think it's actual
In
sin.
Islam theology, Satan and Adam did the same thing. What? Disobeying God. Satan said, it's your fault. Adam said, Rabbana zalamna anfusana. Oh my Creator, oh my Lord, I did wrong to myself. That's why Adam was forgiven and Satan was cursed in Islamic theology.
What about Eve? Was Eve forgiven?
Yeah, of course, humanity.
Well, before
Allah
before
said
that, women could give birth without any pain. After that, God gave her
that's
pain.
your way of thinking. Our way of thinking is different.
They don't think
In the Bible, women giving birth is a punishment.
Right.
But in the Islamic theology, the Prophet said if a child sacrificed themselves for their mother, they cannot pay the 1 minute of childbirth.
Islam is gynocentric, I told you.
yeah.
So you wouldn't be a believer
Islam,
then?
okay, in 1880, in London, people used to auction their wives. 1500 years ago, a man came in his deathbed. He said, be careful of your prayers.
Look, you're preaching
and
now.
be just to your women.
What's the discussion?
I don't know, because he's preaching. That's
Of
why.
course I'm preaching.
No,
I'm talking about reality that
you
in
can have your say, 'cause
1880,
you heard the
when
initial
people were
kind of
auctioning, my
idea.
point is,
Coexisting
when
and-
a society auctions their wife in 1880, 200 years ago, when a man came 1400 years ago, he said, be careful, your wife's got your rights upon you. They say it's barbaric.
So what are we going to do then?
No.
Go on.
The religious...
what are we going to
just
do?
think.
How can we
I'm
coexist?
telling you, put logic
saying
into
about
it.
the board game
I'm
earlier,
saying
this is
put
the
logic
force
into
we
it.
need.
And you
If in
identified that immediately,
1880
didn't you?
in
Yeah, you
London,
can see there's
men
that
used
force
to
of
auction
chaos
their
has come
wives.
into the-
But 1500 years ago, a man came and said, your wife
But I mean, it
has
could have
rights
been any
upon
individual.
you.
Like chaos just
At
happens
least
whenever.
think.
Like
Some
I
individuals
left.
are
That
more
200
chaotic than
years
other
ago,
individuals.
people were
Even in my
auctioning
absence,
their
even
wives.
in my absence, there was
But
chaos.
1500 years ago, a man said your wives have rights upon you.
Wait, the singular
to bring something
pure,
positive.
We try and
get
get
the
the
point.
point. I think we're going to end up on a different strand of conversation.
Because can I put the board game out again?
More power over you.
Mo over there,
Yeah.
I want to be able to I want my generations to coexist with Mo's generations and his generations and their generations on this small boat called Great Britain.
Yeah.
We can see that there are forces that are bringing us closer together and there are forces that are pushing us further apart.
Yeah.
We experienced the closeness when we were talking about the transgender,
Yeah.
where I said, and I did mean it. For me as a Christian, looking at the history of Christianity in Islamic countries, I'd be tempted to say I'd rather pay the jizya and live in
Not in today's world. Not in today's world.
Okay. Rather than live under the increasingly satanic structures that are being put into place and they're going to affect my family's salvation. So this means how are we with atheists and Muslims and Christians going to avoid what I can see, is it called a conflagration? What do they have, where
Conflagellation,
apocalyptic Conflagration.
But you don't know
Conflagellation.
what I'm going to say to you.
Yeah, go
Can
on.
I say a
Now
point?
you say,
Okay.
yeah.
You just said, how can we get together and stuff?
Generationally.
But you know that in our traditions,
Yeah.
we believe that Christians and Muslims, a point will come that they will get together
Okay, that's
and
good.
fight against
Yeah,
evil.
Revelation.
Do you know that?
Yeah, I did.
Do you know
yes,
that?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Right. Say it again.
The causer to fight evil.
Yes.
What's the evil?
Yeah.
The evil that we ask
No,
two
you're
young
right, it's
ladies,
conflagration.
what's your thought about incest? They said
Conflagration.
it's
Because I
okay.
know that the Battle for Berlin.
That's the
when I
evil I'm
first came
talking about.
across that
Right,
term,
okay,
that
yeah.
was kind of, you know.
It's interesting
Well,
we
we
get
had
into
to stop it last
I'm a
week.
Christian. Yeah, it wasn't always, but you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So, would you do you
Britain's
see
more
that
of an
this is inevitable that these camps will be brought into increasing conflict, and can the good people in each of the camp come together beyond their camp, if that makes sense? Can I just explain this and then you can dive in? Because I used to not be a Christian, I used to dislike Christians, then I became a Christian,
You're
then
an
I
atheist.
disliked other Christians.
You're an atheist.
Yeah, yeah. But then I got drawn to more the common ground based on you being a good person, a person of goodwill, a person attempting imperfectly to live a righteous life. I'd rather live closer to a Muslim like that than a Christian who was a Christian in everything, but you
Nominally.
know, yeah,
Just
exactly.
nominally.
So he'd be doing things and saying things, wicked things, and doing immoral things.
But you have
Just
those with
because he's a
Muslims too.
Yeah, I agree. And could Mo?
They are
No,
everywhere.
but what I'm saying is
We are
it
talking
possible?
about societies
Is
and
it
the world.
possible
Yeah.
for both
It's
of us,
everywhere.
for me
But let's
and
start with
Mo, to come together outside of our camps based on righteousness without being sucked back in by all the other people in the camp saying you're a sellout, which keeps us. That's kind of and likewise with an atheist. So
Yeah,
you
what-
can
what
see
he's
there's
asking-
goodwill.
yeah.
You know, that's kind of what I'm.
What he's asking is a question
Good,
of-
I mean, when you say goodwill and living a good and
Good
righteous life,
yeah.
according to what? Like according to
Judeo-Christian and Islamic, the
So-
best
so
in all
Abrahamic-
of those.
Abrahamic.
Yeah, Abrahamic. Yeah.
No, no.
What
When-
he's asking
because it's quite-
fundamentally.
no,
because
when
it's
I
quite-
say good as a
because even
Muslim,
no, no, just can I?
Go on,
Can I
let's
speak?
just say this one, then we'll
Because
spin it
even
round,
within the
yeah.
same religion, you know, there are quite stark differences. So, for example, if you're a Christian, you're probably aware
Yeah.
that the Episcopalian Church actually supports women getting abortions.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how you feel about that.
No, because I
Because-
can
yeah.
answer because I hold. I'm a Catholic, so I would say that the
What kind of Catholic are you?
I'm an apostolic Catholic,
Yeah, but
not
are you-
necessarily Roman.
No, but
It
it's
could
really-
be it could be Orthodox. Anyone
Australia
within
has
the
that.
Catholic communion
Yeah,
of
but
churches.
when you
and
say
I
Catholic,
don't differentiate.
sorry, when you say Catholic,
Yes.
what do you think about then the Second Vatican Council? Do you agree with that, or do you
Well, there
are
were
you
no new
Second
doctrines.
Vatican?
There were no new dogmas there, so there's nothing to agree or disagree on.
Well, there was. There
No,
was.
not dogmas.
Yes, because in the Second Vatican Council, I'm sure you're aware,
Yeah.
it says that even an atheist of goodwill,
Yes.
if he is following his conscience, can attain
I
salvation.
think you'll find that's a teaching, not a dogma. There's a big difference between the two. A dogma is something that you're required as an article of faith. You must believe in it or you're excommunicated. But within the Catholic churches, there are lots of teachings which have different interpretations, a bit like the Hadith kind of thing. So that is an interpretation, like limbo is an interpretation. It's not a doctrine. So what I'm trying to say
Well,
is.
what do you think then about the mass?
Can we go away from the Christian to carry on this? Much as I'd like to have that conversation
Sure,
with you,
right. No,
but
no.
to again, can we bring it? How? So a Muslim, a Christian, an atheist, an agnostic.
Yep.
We're living on this
Pagan.
rocky boat like this, and we're going, oh shit! And we just heard about the brother sister. This is what's going to happen. Awful things are going to happen in the next 10 years here. Moral evil is going to be carte blanche. It's
Yeah.
going to be part of everyone's diet. And for me, it's rescuing the next generation,
Okay.
short of going to a desert island together and go on.
What I'd like to do is try and rephrase your question in
Yeah.
sort of terms we can all sort of understand and agree without getting too much religion involved in it. So what I think you're asking is basically a question of in-group and out-group. How can we all, coming from different out-groups, different groups that have identified each other as the other throughout history, come together and form one single cohesive in-group with one another, where we identify, people outside of that as the out-group. How can we
live
determine-
harmoniously with our
determine a
differences?
unifying
Yeah,
force?
yeah.
So hold on, what was the last thing you said actually? What was the last point you made? Because there was something on that I wanted to address.
Oh gosh, hang on.
You're talking about the moral evil that's going to happen.
moral evil.
Moral evil.
rocking
So
boat,
yeah. So
our
I don't
generations.
think you ever have a carte blanche on moral evil. I think there are
Yeah.
certain things like you look at game theory. Game theory is just a computer simulation of behaviour over time. There are certain behaviours that people just won't do when there are a certain amount of players on the board, so to speak. And there's a certain equilibrium that always seems to form. just a question of time as to how that happens. So you've got three major strategies in the original game theory design that I'm aware of. You've got the dove strategy, which is never attack, the hawk strategy, which is always attack, and the raptor strategy, which is only attack when attacked. Now, if you've got only doves on the board, they survive because they're only doves to be around. If you get one hawk on the board, suddenly hawks start prospering all the time. As soon as you introduce raptors, the doves and the hawks sort of go up and down, but overall there's a kind of equilibrium in the total amount of players that are on the board. So what we're asking here...
Prey and predators, kind of, yeah.
So we try and bring this down to a realistic... Yeah, when we try
you haven't asked him what moral corruption is, though. But
yeah.
So, because I think to you it means something different to him.
Well, what I'm...
That's the point.
To answer
but
that...
you say first, because there's a lot of layers we can get to, but you finish what you're going to say.
No, it's interesting you bring that up, because that drives me to another point. Cross-culturally, we look across societies, and the most common moral framework that we find that people find acceptable is they always have some kind of idea of what self-defense means. Whether you look at the Iroquois, the Arabs, the Indonesians, the Polynesians, whoever, across the board, they always have some idea about what self-defense means, and they always believe that there is some retribution to be sought when self-defense is violated.
Private property.
Not necessarily even private property, just an idea of if I attack you, then I'm in the wrong. If you attack me first, you're in the wrong. Literally, it breaks down to that. So like I say, if you're trying to be a hawk to me, even whether I'm a raptor or a dove, people would say I have a right to attack you back. Does that make sense? People would say...
Game theory, the classic one that one learns first of all, is a prisoner's dilemma. It's not a matter of raptors or hawks. And here's how it goes. You have two prisoners who've been captured, maybe committing crime, maybe not.
Can you, sir?
And the police...
So I can,
Come in.
And
so I
the
can
police
learn.
are going to interrogate them. They separate them without allowing them to speak. Now, if one of them's offered the chance to turn Queen's evidence, if they turn Queen's evidence, they will go scot-free. Okay?
Yeah.
But the other person will go down for life. The second, they're both given that option.
Yeah.
But if both of them confess and try to turn Queen's evidence, then they'll both get 15 years.
You are correct.
If both of them say nothing, then they'll go free. Now the question is, do I trust the other person not to shot me in?
It's a question of trust and cooperation.
Yes, that's much more to do with game theory rather than whether you've got raptors or whatever, because people vary depending on the situation.
You are
and
correct.
You're correct that when it gets larger, then you have certain other strategies. But basically, there's no... People behave differently.
It depends on the situation.
And the knowledge or thoughts of how the other people will behave. It has little to do with if people are innately aggressive or passive. It is a matter of playing the game in such a way that they will maximise their returns.
There's still a theme of reciprocity
and minimise their losses.
Well, I just think the way you have encapsulated it, I think really explains the kind of society we live in today, because I think the kind of society we live in today is a society where each and every human action and human behavior is capitalized, it's monetized, and in order for that individual to gain. And I think this is the stage that we're at now. I don't think this was the stage we were at in, for example, the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, you didn't really have that. People were slightly different. They were greedy people in the Middle Ages, but they were slightly different. So I think this is topical to our age, and it's not something that has been a part of human society throughout.
May I ask you a question to interject on that? Which is the way to the tube station from here?
Sorry?
Which way is it to the tube station?
Which tube station?
The nearest one.
The nearest one would be Marble Arch, but there's two ways to get there. You can
stop for a moment. I don't want to know. The point I'm making is you're giving me information free. It hasn't been monetized. You should have said, if you were monetizing everything, say, I'll give you that information if you pay me. But you're willing to give it for free.
What I'm doing
is monetized.
But what I'm trying to do...
Give broad strokes.
No, but I also have benefited from what you said earlier. So, in kindness, I've also told you where the station is. But there are people actually who you ask... There are people who you ask, and they would know where the station is, and they might give you the completely wrong direction.
Yeah, that's why. That's his point. That's his point. It's all about reciprocity.
No,
and trust.
Not. It's a matter that if it doesn't cost you too much, people will do things for.
Oh, okay.
For whatever reason. It may be, my ex-wife would say they always do it because they're pleased and helping somebody else, but that she's taking more business than you are, that everything has a value. However, many people do things for charity and things where there's no real advantage.
That's not true. No, that's not true. A lot of people who work in charities, they do it for their own self-satisfaction. They could do it for their own propaganda. Like a lot of people you'd be surprised. A lot of people who work for Amnesty International, speak to them personally and listen to their views.
I agree with you. Look,
they're just there for the
that's
money.
Slightly different from the charity work that I'm talking about. For example, I was talking to a woman yesterday who sits on the canals and tries to persuade people to join a thing to clean up the canals.
Yeah.
She's not getting paid for that. She doesn't have part time.
Well, how do you know? How do you know? She might be a millionaire.
Yep. She may be, but she hasn't become a millionaire from telling people to clean up the canal or suggesting they join a group to clean up the canals.
So, but what are you trying to say about human nature? What you're saying?
I'm saying it's more complicated than to say we live in a monetarized society.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that, but I also think the human being is an ongoing phenomenon. The human being changes. The human being evolves. Are you saying no to that?
No. I'd say that, for example, Adam Smith in his argument that people don't do things for you because they like you. They do it because they get money back and they get money for the service they're providing. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that a sophisticated Western society like this, it's more complicated than that old monetarist thing. For example, up to about 1910, you didn't need any form of ID to come and live in London. You could just turn up and live here.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was you were just as free to starve on the streets of London and elsewhere. People only started to get concerned about immigration and things when they thought people were coming here to get something.
Yeah.
Before that, you could starve here, nobody cared.
Yeah.
And so we live in a more sophisticated society than say, prior to 1900, or certainly prior to 1945 with the welfare state.
Yeah.
Now it's quite possible to... You won't starve in this country if you do no work.
You'll find a way to...
They'll keep you in hospital so you're well and right ticket.
Yeah.
But that's very different from, say, 100 years ago, where you can be quite free to starve.
Yeah.
What do you do for a living?
I am...
Well, so not really relevant, but...
It is.
Why?
Well, when he answers the question, I'll tell you.
But why does he have to answer your question?
What do you do for a living?
I'm a retired person.
But you got paid in your previous occupation?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, I agree.
And
I'm not denying that.
That's what the system's all based on.
Yes, but there are other parts
Monetary
of the
gain.
system as well.
Monetary gain.
Yes, we live in a society where
I think
that's
the point he's trying to make is not every action is driven by monetary gain.
In your previous
example
example of the game, who was the raptor in that game?
There is none. It's a matter of assessing whether you think
there was a raptor. There was.
Who was the raptor?
Well, I know. I'm asking you.
Well, you can argue the person who set up the game, who are the authorities, are doing that.
Exactly.
Well, that doesn't give you anything. That's just you're just throwing something in and running away.
It does have a certain point, because one of the first things that all states do is take the right to take life away from individuals. That's one of the
take away the right to take lives from individuals.
Yes,
so
gun rights. They have a monopoly on it.
You're talking about gun rights and things like that.
No.
They're just the ultimate arbiter of force.
You are not in this country. You're not allowed to kill people just because you don't like them.
Right.
Although Parliament can if it really wants to.
Well, we don't have the death penalty. We don't have the death penalty.
No, through the military.
Through the military, they can.
Parliament tomorrow morning can pass legislation saying we don't like you, we want you dead. They haven't done it for a few hundred years, but they've certainly done it in the past.
They can if they want. If they really want, they can. Yeah.
But the point is whether they kill people or just imprison them for life. You are not allowed to imprison people, and you're not allowed to kill people. And those are two things that states take almost immediately when they become a state, are those two things. So he's quite right. The game in that case is being controlled by the maker of the game. But that's
the arbiter in that situation. Whereas what I was trying to get at was more the sort of natural equilibrium that sort of comes about when just there are players involving three main different strategies.
But I don't...
And there are no real strategies.
Much more to do with your perception of what the other people are as well, as to how you...
There's that as well, yeah. That's when cooperation and reciprocity and trust come into it, I think.
So I don't think you can just say someone who's innately aggressive will necessarily...
No, but in the context of morality, what I was trying to argue is that there are certain moral precepts that just sort of persist throughout because the game is never really disrupted. Like
what? Which
you have to moral precepts for self-defense, for instance. It's just sort of accepted that the raptor strategy is you're nice to people, but you hold a firm stick.
Well, this is interesting because there are some societies who don't even believe in self-defense. Like I think Jains, for example, if they're attacked, they don't attack back.
It's like a collection of interesting people here. Yeah. What are you talking about?
You missed the interesting collection. They've all gone off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Colin was here.
What do you think about human nature? Do you think then that there's all kinds of possibilities for human nature, or you're saying that
human nature is extremely difficult?
Because you said earlier it's complicated. It's more complicated than what we're talking about. So
yes, because I don't think you can say that everyone does everything for self-interest.
So you're saying you can't reduce it.
People are necessarily aggressive because they're aggressive.
Right. So you're saying you can't reduce human nature to this or that, it's more complicated.
I think it depends on the society.
But at the same time,
it depends on the society in which one lives.
Is it fair to say
does it depend on the society 100%? Does it depend on the society 100%, or is it partly biological?
I give you. Can I answer that in a slightly roundabout way?
Sure.
I lived in South Africa for a time, and a man came into work one day who had just been done for going through a set of traffic lights without stopping. It turned out he was colourblind, and he hadn't seen the lights. And I've often pondered on that. Why is it mainly men, and about 10% of the population, that have colour blindness problems? Because you would have thought that the gene would have long since been edited out through being eaten. I talked to him about this, and we came to this conclusion. He'd been in the South African army fighting terrorists up in Angola. And when
terrorists?
Terrorists, as they say in South Africa.
Terrorists. What kind of terrorists? In
Angola,
No. We need to speak about
No,
guys.
Pavlov, no. This is not your.
He just told us he's going to answer a question in a roundabout way.
Yes, it does matter. There were 3 different rebellious fronts in Angola.
You're taking it off on a tangent.
It's not a history lesson. Pavlov, it's not a calendar.
Who are you calling terrorists?
I'm not calling anyone terrorists.
It's a question with
I quoted him.
Pavlov, come on. Just ignore him.
I quoted him. He called them terrorists.
Okay, terrorists.
So you didn't specify.
Whatever, okay, keep on.
Let the gentleman speak.
What he could do, because he's colourblind, is he could see footfalls in grass that coloured-sighted people couldn't see. Now, if you think about primitive hunter-gatherer groups, it doesn't make much sense for people who are collecting berries to be colourblind. Because if they are, they'll probably collect ones which will kill you.
Poisonous, poisonous.
So maybe if women do most of the berry gathering, it doesn't. There's no advantage to that. But if you're a group of men, shall we say about 10 going out for a hunting party, having one who is colour blind may be a help in tracking things.
Yeah.
Now that's from a very primitive society, but we're not very far from that really. We've been civilised in inverted commas for about 5,000 years.
There's also
so you're saying sorry, let me just try. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll come back.
So what you're saying is really we haven't really changed much. The only change that has happened really is the socialization of human beings. But underneath, really, they are still that primitive hunter-gatherer.
But more than that, I think there are reasons for diversity in the ability to see.
Yes.
There may also be diversities in the way we think and all sorts of other things for exactly the same reason. Because we're actually equipped to be in small hunter-gatherer bands. That's our origins. And when we build more sophisticated societies to a certain degree, you can't get away from that.
I wanted to ask something about colourblindness as well, because it's not even necessarily the case that there's an advantage for that gene to persist in the gene pool. It's just that gene doesn't necessarily bring such a heavy disadvantage.
Yes,
if that makes sense.
I totally agree with you.
It's like nails as well.
I would have thought that colourblindness would be a pretty serious disadvantage.
I mean,
I don't know how far back
disadvantage is an advantage.
Sorry?
A lesser disadvantage
turns out to be an advantage.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Oh, you could say having a very high IQ population in a country is a disadvantage.
You've really got to work on your segues, man.
How can you say that having a high IQ in a population is a disadvantage?
Because if you had people who are more on the lower IQ areas, and they are a lot more reactionary.
I can answer your point.
In like finding out problems.
No.
People with high IQ tend to be very agreeable and tend to want to.
High IQ?
Yeah.
Agreeable?
Yeah. Let me answer your point.
Disagree.
IQ is a good predictor of financial success over a lifespan. So it's only really relevant to talk about IQ so long as we've had money in society.
Remember in Finland, Finland has a very high average IQ population. Yeah, they're very conformist.
It's not a calendar ship, Pavlov, man. Not till you get closer.
Know exactly what you're doing here. I know exactly what you're doing.
I'm just saying that we need a balance, It's no advantage to have a mostly low IQ. It's no advantage to have a mostly high IQ. There needs to be a balance.
Okay. Sorry, what was your name, sir?
My name is Philip.
James. It's a pleasure to meet you and talk game theory. I can't remember how we got onto game theory, but we were tackling a point that you were actually struggling with a while ago. Do you remember when we were with IC3 and quite a few other people, and we were talking about moral rules?
Yeah.
So I was arguing that some moral rules are emergent from a natural situation that occurs, whereby you have certain players on the board. They're all permitted to do whatever they want, but there are 3 major strategies involved. The dove strategy, which is never attack. The hawk strategy, which is always attack, and the raptor strategy, which is only attack. The hawks.
The third one. The
third one is raptor. Sorry.
Raptor strategy.
Which is only attack when attacked.
Why is it the raptor strategy?
Because they like the sound of it. I don't know. I'm not actually sure of the etymology of game theory, but
who made it up?
Game theory. Actually, who was it? Was it Robert Nash that came up with game theory?
But it's been around certainly since the 70s.
Yeah, so the raptor strategy is only attack when attacked. Now, when you only have doves on the board, doves persist. When you only have hawks on the board, hawks tend to persist as the majority.
Well, yeah, because you don't have anything else.
And then you have raptors on the board, and there's an equilibrium that comes about whereby...
You seem to have some synchronicity.
Yeah. Balance.
Yeah. Say again?
Balance.
Yes, equilibrium, balance. Well done.
Yeah, but there will be...
You've overcome your dyslexia!
No, guys, but listen, there will be no balance if only doves exist, only hawks exist, and only raptors exist.
Say again?
There will be no balance if only one of them exists.
Right, but when you have all three on the board,
yeah,
there's an equilibrium that emerges. The dove and hawk population goes up and down, but overall there's an equilibrium in the percentages of each population. I think that's how it works out. Now, when it comes down to moral rules, that's how we understand why across most societies they have an idea of self-defense. And they have an idea that me attacking you first, me initiating force against you, is morally wrong. So there are certain
animals
rules that
have
just
that
persist.
morality. You think animals do that? Have
Not all, no, because then you've got a predator-prey situation, which is more complicated.
Well, remember, like you talk about insects or arthropods, like beehives. Beehives. That's an interesting system where you said everything is like a machine.
Actually, there's an interesting point you made earlier, actually, which is about if a pack of lions, if a pride of lions catches a zebra, they will tend to avoid it hunting for the rest of the day, and that's very true, because when I was out on safari we got told that as soon as they called the zebra stupid, because as soon as a lion catches a zebra, the zebra will just carry on grazing around the lions, because they know the lions aren't going to go for them. They've got their food for the day. So in that situation,
I don't think I spoke about it, but you're right about it.
So like I say, predator and prey, when you get predator and prey, carnivore and herbivore involved, it's a bit more complicated.
Yeah, they do understand how the balance works. That's why zebras will have no problem walking relatively close to lions when they're eating, I think.
But also walk relatively close to
that's
lions
not quite what I was
eating,
talking about.
Because to be able to see the prey is an advantage. To see the hunter is an advantage.
Ah, right, okay, yeah.
Zebra will approach within a certain distance of lions. On the assumption, I mean, it's the old joke as far as zebra are concerned, I may not be as able to run as fast as the lion, but I can run faster than him.
Yeah. And they've also got eyes in the side of their head as opposed to in the front of their head, which is
zebras.
Like... Yeah. I think, closer to the side.
Yeah, they don't have like frontal vision to all sides. And they also can't see in colour as well.
Generally speaking, if you're looking at, this is not 100%, but it's a good rule of thumb. If you're looking at a predator, they tend to have forward-facing vision. So what's it called? Bifocal, bivariant, binocular vision. Whereas prey will always have their eyes out to the side. There's actually an interesting thing about reindeer, a strategy that they employ when they detect that they're being hunted. They'll turn their face towards the direction of the predator, so that the predator stops, because the predator sees a face and thinks, oh, it's looking at me. And then as soon as they do that, they'll start running away. So that they actually get the predator to stop. Because the predator, especially, this works with stealth predators, like jaguars and wolves. Because they're relying on stealth to be able to get close to their prey and actually launch an attack.
Okay, but wait, if they can't see the predator with the front of their faces,
they've noticed it with the side. That's the thing. So, like, let's say I'm a caribou or a reindeer, right? I've noticed the predator, and it's a stealth predator. So I turn like that to stop, so that you will crouch down and stop, right? So you're not in the position to run straight away if you need to. Whereas I can just kick off straight away.
I'm pretty sure they can still see forward. It's just that they don't see it as well as
they don't see. Yeah, they don't see it as well. But the point I'm making is they have some intelligence insofar as they use what the predator will perceive as a face. Do you understand what I'm saying? They will use what the predator sees as a face,
like
and
some,
I got you.
As well as some non-poisonous snakes have a very similar color pattern to poisonous snakes, so that they are not attacked.
Well, snakes mostly use their taste to detect
snakes are a different kind of predator and prey altogether, man.
Yeah. But I'm just giving the example because animals adapt to each other. They influence each other.
Nature is an arms race.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, you know, the herbivores are always evolving new defences and to counter the carnivores, and the carnivores are always evolving new offences.
This is actually what I was saying to you about men and women. Men and women have employed different strategies throughout their evolution against one another. And
I mean, against one another. It's mostly to compensate each other.
Yeah,
okay,
I
so
can't really agree to that.
When
Men and women are not against each other. They're not predator and prey.
No, but they are. Sexual
we do
selection
take
is
a lot of
very
energy out of
complicated
each
thing.
other.
I mean, men usually
We
are
literally
the
are
more
sucking each other's
aggressive
blood,
ones.
yeah.
They usually take the initiative. That's true. So in that sense, I guess you could compare it to
Yeah, but the
predator
more
and
men
prey.
take initiative, the more women learn how to deal with that.
Huh?
The more men take. Okay, let's say we're in a pre-initiative society, right?
Okay.
Men start taking initiative. You have like a standard S-curve model. Actually, can you pull up your phone because my battery's running low? So I'll show you the S-curve, right? It goes innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and blackguards, right? So the innovator is the first man to take initiative and approach a woman.
Okay.
The early adopter is the one who comes in first. Yeah, hold on. S-curve. That's not what I'm looking for. Okay. Just 3.5 gram of weed.
Dave was just shouting that out loud.
I said it so the microphone didn't pick it
Look,
up.
it's more complicated than just predator and prey with men and women.
Yeah, I know that's
much more complicated.
Like I say,
than that.
it's all a different thing, but like it's
Women are attracted to men
So
in
far
a
as-
very different way than men are attracted to women.
yeah, but so far as the
It's
arms
completely
race
different.
goes, it's all the same. So if you just
No.
imagine,
Oh, it's
I
interesting.
disagree completely.
because as soon as you get by the time you get to late majority, in terms of one strategy being employed for men to reproduce, that's late majority because now the women have developed a strategy to counter that.
But
Because now they have to.
they don't try
The
to
first,
counter,
let me put it to you this way: the first man with initiative is sexy because he's doing something that's never been done. He's employing a strategy which has never been done before, and potentially it makes him better at hunting, gathering food. Like
Yeah, but
taking
just
initiative
because
is a
it
good
has never
quality in
been
life.
done before doesn't mean it's good. You see what I mean?
Right, but
If I come to a woman and I tell them, "Give me your pussy," and
I've seen that done.
it has probably.
I've seen that.
Okay, it
There are
might have
many
been
different.
done
Okay,
before.
there are many.
It's
different-
very unusual. It
There are
doesn't
many-
mean I'll
yeah,
succeed.
yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
I
but
won't
don't you
succeed.
think that's
Okay,
unless
so
she's a complete
let me put it to you
slut.
this way.
Don't you think that's women's fantasy, especially with the how many books
Oh,
of
fuck.
To a
50
no,
50
listen,
Shades of
listen.
Grey
It's
being
more
sold.
complicated
Let
than
me
that.
There's a lot more
That's the misunderstanding
Pablo, let me
many
put it this way.
men make.
In a world of completely docile and like I'll just get by men.
What the fuck?
Sorry, what's your name, by the way?
Next generation of gangbangers.
Oh,
Sorry, what's your
God.
name?
William.
William. So William
Andrew?
here is the man who takes
Andrew?
Jamie Pavlov. So out of the four of us, let's say William here is the first man ever to take initiative, right? The rest of us are completely docile, lazy, and we'll just get by on women picking berries. Now, the way women know that he takes initiative is because he's the first man to pick up a piece of wood, sharpen it, and go hunt, right? Which means that you can get game meat, which provides variety for
I know
your
what you
diet.
mean.
And so then women perceive that they don't. It's
I've
not
got all
a
of
case
your
of.
argument now.
It's not. It's not a case of they perceive. Oh, he takes initiative in terms of approaching me. It's he takes
You're
initiative
right,
in
you're
other
right,
areas of his life.
But should we not start with what are the criteria for attraction between men and women? Is that
Before
not
we,
there?
before,
Start-
no, hold on. Before we
There's
get to
so
that,
much
I just want to
nuance.
finish this example.
Okay, finish the example.
Because by the time it gets to you, right, now you take initiative. Okay, maybe you get less pussy than him, but you're still getting a fair amount. Then it gets to him, and then finally the women are like, okay, now I need a better criterion than taking initiative, so I need to develop a strategy against men who take initiative.
Fair enough.
Because women will
So by the
always
time
go-
it
It does
gets,
make some sense.
by
in
the time
that-
it gets to
in that
me,
extent.
I'm being blown out by women, and they're employing all of you to take initiative
Okay,
against
man,
me.
yes.
Because I'm now a
But
loser.
Look. The thing is, this logic doesn't function only on women.
No,
This
I never said
No,
it did.
wait,
I never said it
let
did.
me just
It's a
finish
two-way
this. Let
thing.
me finish this. It's not even about attraction. It's about showing that you are confident. Showing confidence.
No, it's about showing genetic fitness.
No, it's about showing
Well,
confidence.
those two things
Now,
could.
confidence,
Those are not
Those two
mutually
things can
exclusive.
correlate, yeah.
they
but
don't need to
usually
disagree on that one.
correlate, but sometimes they don't. And humans very often use that to their advantage. For example, I noticed
Yeah.
many times, I honestly, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think I became a better speaker with time than I was in the beginning in
I know
Speaker's
you do,
Corner.
yeah.
And a very big part of that is confidence.
yeah.
I might not be absolutely certain that what I'm saying is true, but if I show that confidence, the other person will think in their head, this guy is so confident of what he's saying
It makes me unsure. Exactly.
that maybe he has some point, that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't humiliate myself by contesting him here. And they start, they start being defensive. I start taking advantage of that. I start taking the lead, taking, initiative.
Because you've got them on the back foot, you've got their animal brain engaged.
Once you get the other person on the back foot, that's it. Even if their argument is better, usually they can't compete with you.
Yeah, but you haven't got me on the back foot.
No, I'm not.
I'm very much in agreement with you.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not disagreeing with you
Sorry,
either.
Will, what did you say?
I'm saying it depends on what your motives are, because maybe I got you wrong. Because if your purpose of engaging in argument is to just simply intimidate somebody,
just to win,
I think that's
it's not that, no.
Exactly. That's my point exactly, bro.
Right.
But
okay,
look, that's the thing.
We've gone back to mutually exclusive ideas.
Wait. Let me just finish this because we're getting really close to the real point I wanted to make.
Okay.
Now, this is why women sometimes make mistakes in terms of choosing the better man.
Or what we perceive as mistakes.
Yes,
yeah.
because no.
They have a
sometimes they are mistakes.
Now you're being judgmental. Now you're being very judgmental.
Wait. Why do women sometimes like bad boys? Why do they sometimes like criminals?
Sometimes.
Because
they can change them.
Very often. Very often.
There's
exactly.
a book you need to read, I'll
exactly.
tell you later.
Because
But
they see
bad
their
boys have been around
confidence.
for generations.
Wait,
though,
guys,
so
guys,
back to the
let me
S-curve.
finish this. Let me finish this.
I know.
Because they see confidence. They see, this man has a lot of confidence. That means automatically, to a certain extent at least, he must have some kind of weapon to his disposal, some kind of power, some kind of ability.
Some kind of social
makes
proof.
Exactly.
Let me add something.
That makes him so confident. And not only women, men make that mistake too. When I argue with some men, they make that mistake too. This guy is very confident. That means he's right.
Yeah.
But it's not completely nonsensical, because very few people have a big control over their own confidence. Very, very few people. And that is exactly the difference you were making between the man who will immediately... No, I'm not talking about you, man. Sorry, bro, not talking about you yet. But about the guy who will immediately go for the women and start
Wait,
talking to them.
you're not talking about me yet?
No,
so you're
I was never talking about you.
You said
I was talking about what you said.
Never mind, carry on.
Yeah. I mean, I might talk about you later if you want. But,
cool, yeah. I'm down for that.
We'll talk about you later. Don't worry. We'll talk about you. But look, the man who starts talking to the woman first has that advantage of confidence. He's confident, even if what he says is bullshit.
But
sometimes he will get what he wants.
Can I pose to you an experiment that was done? Obviously, it was done for Penn and Teller's bullshit program. It wasn't necessarily scientific.
Penn and Teller's bullshit program.
Have you ever seen Penn and Teller's bullshit?
No, I never.
Oh, it's hilarious. You'd love it.
It's a good name.
You're an atheist, right?
No, I'm an agnostic.
You're an agnostic. You might like that program. It's very atheist, very science, very kind of...
I don't actually agree with atheists.
No, me neither.
In the experiment, right, they had two firefighters.
Not as smart as they think they are.
They had two firefighters and a series of women, right? They would have the first firefighter approach the woman and try and chat her up, and then he'd go away because she reject him. And then the second firefighter would go up and then chat her up and then go away because it's part of an experiment. And not forget the rejection bit. They would just go up, and the women were asked to rate them both on attraction. Women both rated the second firefighter more than the first firefighter. So the point they were making, even if this isn't an actual strategy that's employed, is it's not necessarily the most confident. This is what I'm saying about taking initiative. This follows up perfectly. Because the more men take initiative in a social situation, the less women become attracted to it, because they're like, oh, everyone's taking initiative, so I'll go for the second guy as opposed to the first guy.
That's not quite correct. Well, if the first guy succeeds, that's it, game over for the other guys.
Yeah. Right, but my point is, but
it only functions if the first guy doesn't succeed.
But if you're let's say you're out in a nightclub,
being the first has a big advantage.
Yeah, but let's say if you're out in a nightclub, and this model that Penn and Teller put forward of it's always the second guy who approaches, gets the woman. You're the first guy in the club. You're the patsy. You're the fucking what's the word? The fool guy. You're the fool.
I disagree
for approaching first.
I disagree.
I'm proposing it as a hypothetical. I'm not saying it rings true.
No, what you're saying has some truth.
But what I'm saying is women employ strategies as well.
Sure,
of course.
So if everyone's comfortable with taking initiative in a nightclub, then women are going to employ a strategy of I'll go with the second guy because the first guy's going to be an asshat.
That's why many men become incels. They don't understand that women. No, but listen to me.
It's true.
They don't understand that even though women have a different mentality, they are not stupid at all.
Yeah.
They have their own mentality. They think their
own way. Whereas MGTOWs are the opposite.
And
they think women have a strategy and they are stupid.
It forces men to improve by understanding the mentality of the woman and by adapting them to that mentality.
But I don't think incels have an interest in doing so.
Exactly. Incels refuse that adaptation, refuse that evolution, and thus they...
As do MGTOWs, yeah.
It's
I
a very
think women
interesting situation.
very much complete men by forcing them to understand them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that adversity is very important. Adversity is the most important thing for human
It all
evolution.
goes down to simply women want their best genes to create the best babies.
And
so,
also,
no,
parental care, bro.
that's
It doesn't always function like that.
Yeah,
but
at the very primitive base of it does come down to subconsciously wanting
useful terms. Okay, go ahead.
There's two parts.
What he just said is
There's
women always
genetics.
maximise, so they go for the best genes possible, right? Whereas women are more likely nowadays to well, I don't know if this is held true throughout time, but most people, you'll get some women that are maximisers, right? They want the best man possible, so they do everything to get the best man possible.
If a woman is really beautiful,
some women,
then she will want a better man.
But some women will employ the
It's
strategy.
logical. Men would do the same in their place.
Yeah, some women will employ the strategy of satisficing when it comes to mate selection. So they'll just choose the man that's least likely to be shit, as opposed to the best man.
Well, that's the same.
They want a man who's functional, that brings in money, that does this, does that, but isn't necessarily the best man for her.
Well, that's the thing. That's why the divorce rate is so big, because I believe that a lot of women settle down with men that they thought weren't actually good for them, but felt like the biological clock is
that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason.
So there's nothing to do with the men.
There's a very interesting series of books that I recommend you guys to read if you're interested in this topic.
But look, that's part. Sorry, bro.
2 seconds. It's called The Rational Male. Talk about that in a minute.
I've heard about this. Rollo Tomassi,
That's right. Yeah. So there's a concept that you're alluding to that we can just jump right to. It's called. The term is alpha bucks. No, sorry. Fuck. Alpha fucks, beta bucks. Which means women have got a double mating strategy. One is to look for maximum genetic fitness, which is usually the alpha, which is usually the bad boy, and the other is to go for the support, the parental care.
So it's like quantum physics, so the atom.
This is exactly how it works.
I think that's not the only thing. Those are not the only things.
I think
power is a very important part of the.
I never heard it explained to me this way. Because this way it sounds like quantum physics. Sometimes there are wavelengths, sometimes there are particles.
Well, you can look at it logically. It's got a very logical evolutionary basis.
Yeah, but what you just said can correlate into a woman's desire to have two of those outcomes at the same time.
Absolutely.
She goes for the bad boy.
Absolutely.
She goes for the bad boy, which has all the perks of
fulfills her complete male.
No, but that's not it.
Just finish. But she also wants to change him into being a somewhat sensitive or nurturing type of person to take care of the children.
I can't agree with that.
No, that is women's fantasy so many times when they see all these fan fiction for Loki in Avengers.
Yeah, so basically,
but they don't actually want to
no, their
actualize
fantasy
that,
is to make a bad boy submit. Because it's very hard.
That's basically what he's saying.
Yeah.
No, that's not exactly what he's saying.
The wrong word.
He's saying that
the
they want to make him commit, but they don't actually want him to submit to them. Because once he submits, that's it. He stops being attractive.
Exactly.
I think that's one of the main reasons why most divorces happen. Men submit, they become shit in their eyes.
Not submit. To be more sensitive in order to be a good
submit.
father. No, be a good father.
Submit.
Say they want.
That's submission.
Terms are tricky, but there's a lot of nuance that we're getting to, which is it's nice. There's actually quite easy answers to a lot of things.
By the way, I just want to point out we're surrounded by women. We're totally mansplaining right now.
Right? Oh, come on, man. Don't do that. I'm certain that if we had women talking here, they would understand what we were saying and they would rationally talk about it.
I'm not so sure. I've never been able to have this conversation with a woman successfully. I don't think it's within my frame of reference.
Why is that? Why is that?
Well, there's a variety of reasons, right? Primarily, we're going to speak in generalities, right? Women are primarily.
Just
how else should I speak?
Let him just.
Should I pick out every individual in the world?
No, just using language.
I agree with you.
He's just using language.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Language is imperfect. We get it.
Women hate generalization, but go on.
Okay, carry on.
Nah, I'll leave it. You're alright.
No, it's true.
Oh, Jesus, Jamie!
You're alright.
Okay. Anyway, guys, I'll go.
What? We were here
I'll
first,
go.
guys.
I'll go check the speeches.
Yeah, hold on. Where's
because
Leon?
the speaker's
like
kids
when I point out
are
that
here. You know the guys who are on the course.
I love how we're getting told to shut up when we were here first. Like, fucking hell.
Yeah, don't
It's actually
bother.
pissing me off a little bit.
I mean, no, but look, they are actually in a course for public speaking.
We were here before.
Oh wait, hold on.
Yeah, we're trying to listen. That's why we're telling you.
Oh, come on, guys. This is Speaker's Corner. Everybody has the right to speak here.
People get talked over.
We were here first.
No, I bring up like data. You know,
sorry, that was me. No, that was me.
What did I say?
Oh, that's
my bad.
What did I say?
I'm sorry.
Don't take this personally. Okay, just deal with it. He's apologised. That's what you had to do.
I'm sorry, sir, but this is a public place.
Yeah? And if you swear next to my children, you're going to have a problem, aren't you?
I didn't swear in
What kind
front
of
of
I didn't say you
No,
did.
no, it was
Yes,
me.
you did, I did.
No, I didn't.
It was me.
Are you really
Sir,
going to
it
get that
was
bogged down
me.
to such a
I
minor
cannot
point?
believe this. I
Get on
cannot
with your
believe
day.
this.
Get over it.
You get on and do it.
I am over it.
Yeah, you're not over it.
Neither of them are over. That's
Let's
an easy
see.
way to do it.
Oh, yeah,
Father's
sir,
instinct.
don't bump into me.
Be tough
Please, give me my space,
towards
sir. Give me my space.
other guys.
Jesus Christ. We were just talking here and people
I'm gonna
just
go find
start
Leon.
intervening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that designed for something? Yeah, because you're a prick.
Did you just swear in front of your own children?
Yeah, exactly. You called someone a prick in front of his own
That's
children.
ironic, bro.
Your speakers couldn't. You could have someone a prick in front of your own children.
You're here just to have some poxy little argument with anyone you can bump into, aren't
Don't
you?
blame people for derogatory terms if you use them yourself.
I didn't blame anyone for anything.
Just
I
use
told
the
him
word
to stop
prick in front
talking.
of your children when you're blaming someone for swearing in speaker's corner in front of your children. It's a public speaker's forum. It happens here. Right. So all get over it and calm down. But then don't start calling him a prick and think that's not as bad as what you were telling him he was doing. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you for what?
I made my point. That's it. I'm totally happy with made my point. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tons of drugs to fund the
I understand your argument, however, you can't deny that interaction with a physical barrier will determine if you're over everything.
Content over everything. From your Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Push them all the way back to Egypt. And because they were forced by successive invasions of the Muslims, they were forced to go on the hills and mountains to defend themselves. They really never mixed with the Arabs. A few did, but a big majority did not. That's why when you go to Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, you see a lot of blonde, blue eyes